Hey everyone, this is Bill Kenny, CEO and co-founder of Focus Lab, a global B2B branding agency. I'm back with another episode of In Conversation, the series where I sit down with either industry peers or past Focus Lab partners to talk about a relevant topic. And what's today's relevant topic? We are talking about AI. Ta-da! Okay, bear with me for a second though. We are talking about AI in very practical and tactical terms from somebody who sits as head of growth and how he and his team use it from a creative output perspective. We worked with them 4 years ago on their rebrand. They still strongly live within that visual identity, but we go further into talking about how they leverage AI and the style guide that we gave them to help their creative team create more assets at scale. These are the things you're generally not hearing. We're not talking about blog post images that look super generic. We're talking about AI through the lens of a creative department. So we hear real world examples of how he's using that and how we used AI, again, from a creative ideation and draft form, not to take things to final pixels, not to replace the creative activity, but to support and speed up the creative activity. It actually is an unlock. And that's a word we use about probably 70 times in this interview. So Henrique, super smart, super creative, and very forward on AI. And I wanted to really talk about how these things are being used that you don't generally hear or see on the streets. If you're in B2B marketing or you're with inside a creative department, you're going to enjoy this episode. Henrique, excited to have you back on the show. Jeez, I mean, when did we partner for the first time? What year was that? Was that before COVID?
It wasn't before COVID, but it must have been 2021. So
okay, just after.
During COVID, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We were all remote. Yeah.
It's almost like, what does during COVID even mean anymore? So it's been a long time. So it's been 4 or 5 years since we initially partnered on the Rows rebrand. You all moved from Dash, right? Correctly?
Yeah, that's it.
To Rows. We had a lot of fun with you. Your team, shout out to Umberto as well, was very open to being very creative on the project and landing on something that was very unique and ownable and uniquely Rows. And now y'all have continued to build and evolve the product, which is going to bring us to the conversation today about how you're leveraging AI within the product, not just as a functionality and feature set build, but both from how you use it within the creative team. But before we go there, why don't you reintroduce yourself to the people that may have not watched our first recording years back, who you are and what do you do?
So my name is Henrique and I lead our AI and marketing teams at Rows. So we built, I think, the world's smartest spreadsheet or smartest AI spreadsheet. And so growth and marketing is a lot about product experimentations. The project that we did with you a few years ago, a lot about data analysis, and then all of the AI research and implementation that we do. That's basically on our teams as well.
And you do a wonderful job. Everything that you're doing, the campaigns that y'all are coming out with are very creative and they're really good uses and stretches of the identity system that we created many years ago now. So just kudos to you. For the people watching and listening. If you don't follow this man, you should go find him on LinkedIn. It's definitely worth a follow. I feel like you all are very open source minded is kind of my read on you and how you share publicly the things that you're learning in the day to day. And you're giving people clear examples of like, here's how I actually use AI to help me do a marketing thing right now. And it's like, oh, that's actually helpful. Thank you. So hopefully we can unpack some of that. God, it was probably about a year ago, the post I'm thinking, where you shared how you took our illustration style that we landed on together as a project, this kind of creative line work illustrations that were meant to express this idea of magic, which is really kind of at the core of the Rows DNA. But it could be hard for a marketing team to then execute and make new illustrations all the time. Not every product has an illustrator on staff. I know that you all do have very talented creatives. So then you came out and shared on LinkedIn how you use AI to take a base illustration style, to iterate, to decide if you want to make those, and then you tweak them to final solution. And I think you put something like cuts out like 98% of the time, I think was the stat you put in there. You want to just share a little bit of like, was that a revelation? Do you still use that? Unpack that a little bit more for us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think taking a short step back, when we did the project with you guys, I think one of the things that we landed on that we really liked was the illustration style. And a lot of our brand messaging is contrasting with Google Sheets and Excel, more of the corporate tone. And we came up with this playful illustration style that we could illustrate Einstein if we wanted, but then a customer or someone holding a pen. And what happened is that we have 2 designers in our 25-person team that also do all of the product design. So clearly, more creative work is a bottleneck for us. And what happens is there are many instances where you want to do more illustrations. Could be, for example, you onboard a new team member and we always want to do an illustration of him or her. We do a case study. We want to do a branded illustration of the customer to send them as a thank you note for participating in the case study. And so it's always a bit of a bottleneck. And as the models got better, we thought, okay, can we feed our illustration style or 10 or 20 examples to ChatGPT or an equivalent and ask it to draw an illustration of a new character and cut a lot of the work of doing drafts? Because if you think about the product designer, we say, now let's do robot hands holding an iPhone. It's going to take several hours, but then the iteration is going to take several hours more. So if you can have it in a way that you can generate 5 or 6 or 10 that are 95% there, you can have a discussion on top of that, and then they can decide how to tweak it. It just expands our creativity as a team. And that's kind of what we found out. And we still use it. Yeah, we actually created a custom GPT for that, where we sent it the brand guidelines, so the large PDF doc that we worked with you guys on, and a bunch of direct instructions. And it's good to generate first drafts that then the team can continue working on. 100%.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I can imagine, and I'm starting to experience this even myself. It's exponential, like what you can achieve with that unlock in my mind. Like you said, like this draft form, this quick iteration to say, we want to do robot hands holding a book, but then you spend 4 hours trying to illustrate the right style of hand orientation. And what's the book? I don't know. Let me think through here. There's a bunch of different books. And only to realize, I actually don't like that idea. I don't think it should be robot hands in a book at all. I'm going to go off on a whole nother idea, that time spent and lost, where if you can use AI as a tool really to help you iterate and go like, nope, throw it out. Oh, there's the idea. Okay, now I can spend my time more efficiently and more effectively. That feels like a really big unlock, even for me as a creative. And I don't even have to use it that way that much. I can only imagine what it feels like for you in your organization. That has to feel like a massive unlock.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing this in other fields as well, right? To see product people and developers going to prototypes faster and making conversations much more productive, because you can say, look, this is what I kind of have in mind. With the design team, we can work in a similar way. Practical example. A few weeks ago, we launched as part of the AI flow, something that we call a reflection. So at the end of the analysis, it looks back at what it did and then sees do I need to edit anything, etc. And to illustrate that, we wanted a robot looking itself in the mirror, but in our illustration guideline.
Okay.
It's a tricky thing to do, right? The mirror, how do you reflect? And then it needs to look the other way, like when you're looking at the mirror. And instead of going to the designer with this overall, just I fuzzy idea, I created a few variations of it on the GPT. And then when I talked to the design team, I said, okay, this is kind of what I have in mind. Let's explore on top of this. And again,
fantastic.
I think it was very good for both sides. For me, as I was thinking through it, I could tweak what the idea that I had in mind, and then for them to have a basis to work on. And then we landed on something close to what the model had given us, but obviously polished the way we wanted it to be.
Yeah. Thank you for the practical example. I think it's important to have those in these shows. I think already what I was hoping the viewers and listeners would feel is this idea that like AI is not necessarily for people like you and I, which are both sides of the table, creative agency and customer with creative in-house. It's not meant to replace creative as much as it is to support, speed it up, and help it. I don't feel threatened in these examples, right? And I guess I would hope that illustrators maybe wouldn't feel threatened either. I know it's a very kind of squishy conversation for most, but I'm sure that the creatives on your team probably embrace that, right? That helped them, like you said. It's not just a brief that is words. It's like, and I've already kind of like did the quick dummy stress test, and I kind of think we should go with this direction. Okay, let me actually now do the detail work as the pure play creative. It's not taking their job, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think the people who like this the most are our designers, honestly, like this experimentation, because it makes their lives better. And for another practical example, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, we launched an integration with Notion. And as part of the launch, we wanted to make it so that anyone who commented or reposted the announcement would have a Notion style avatar drawn in their image, LinkedIn or Twitter.
Yes.
We internally had to cap this at 200 people because there was only so many hours in the day for us to do these illustrations. And these, it's an example where it doesn't have to be 100% fidelity. And so with a tool like this, if it had existed back then, we would have said, anyone who retweets at any time in the day, in the next 7 days, we can make it work for you. And we had a lens, like, it was really positive, but it was less impactful than it could have been if it was that now because of this new tooling.
Yeah, great example. And again, that doesn't take an illustrator's job because nobody would have made 4,000 custom avatars for anybody, right? It's not even a reality. So therefore, the unlock is these things can actually happen now. It's not necessarily about, oh, but that took work from this person. It's not, it's like that wouldn't have happened. This is like a new opportunity. I was also thinking about, for myself, we were working with a client I believe it was last year, and I was trying to come up with really creative ways to express how their logo mark could be dreamt up into these physical forms. Traditionally, as a designer, I'm left with what mock-ups can I find? Is there a sign on the side of a building? Anything tangible that I can find would always be like the most valuable kind of visual in the deck. But in this example, I really wanted to dream. I wanted to say, what does this logo mark look like if I turned it into a fishbowl and there were fish swimming around in it? What if I turned it into this giant marble stone monument that lived inside the kind of like opening up their office space when you walked in? Because I could go into ChatGPT and Midjourney and Firefly and these other models, I could actually make that, and I could make it really fast. And I could throw them out and say, no, I don't like that. Ooh, this is very interesting. And I could even put them in there as unpolished drafts. The excitement that got from the client, because they could then dream, wow, they're never going to make a fishbowl out of it and put goldfish in it, but they could finally start to see the form other than just a flat 2D graphic on a white page. That's a real tangible, tactical example of how even me as like a Stone Age designer, right? I feel like I'm on the elder side of the design team here now, but I was able to use those tools within a small window of time. I figured it out, got some really cool outputs and shipped it. And I was like, that was really fun. Going back to your point of like, who loves this the most? Maybe it's the designers. I loved those tools in that moment. I had never been so kind of creative, quote unquote, as I was able to be right then.
Yeah, I think another similar example that we had was when we do these bigger launches, we like to do these mock or real billboard campaigns, right? Where we play versus Google Sheets versus Excel. And we wanted to do a campaign with a mock billboard in front of Apple, in front of Google, really in front where you can see the headquarters. There's nothing on any like website with mock designs exactly on top of the Googleplex. But with AI, we could design it, and we get do a mock billboard in front of the Googleplex. And then we took that into Figma and we built our own billboard in the space, right? But the foreground was there, and you can see it with Apple, and then we added the logo, etc. So it just really, again, accelerated what we could do. Otherwise, we would not have done it because there's no database for this. We would not spend hours kind of doing the Googleplex or the Apple headquarters. Just fit the billboard.
Yes. It's the challenging pushback of like, no, this will not steal creativity. It might actually just amplify it to a degree that we've not experienced yet. And we're talking about those things now.
Right. I think, realistically, these things, it's always a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, if all you do is freelance work for illustrations, some of these people will be impacted. The ones who don't migrate to AI tools, of course, will be impacted. I think net, what we're seeing is that in the company, we are doing more design work in aggregate than we were before. For sure, we are doing more assets, more videos, more illustrations. So I think net, the world will have much more design. And then the people who can adapt and use these tools, I think, can just leap ahead. I think we talked about this a few years ago. There's so many campaigns that we want to do that we end up not doing just because we don't have, because the bottleneck is always improving the product or something else that we're working on. And I think with these new creative tools, we're getting more stuff out. for sure.
What do you wish that you could do with AI within the marketing department now that is not quite ready for? Where is it still falling behind?
I think a big part is video. Like we were chatting a bit before, because we do a lot of product demos of announcements, a lot of splash screens for the users to see, a lot of email newsletters. And this is always like rich content that the design team spends a lot of time on, but it's static. Right? And to translate an image of a feature into a video, it's a lot of work, right? Motion design, and spend a lot of hours on it. And I think we're not very far off from being able to bridge that and taking a screenshot or a splash screen and animating parts of it. We were actually playing with this morning, like combining the new Google video models with the new prompt models and creating something animated. Again, we know that social now lives on video, and therefore B2B brands have to migrate to more and more video content. And traditionally, this is really hard to produce, really hard to edit, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is one area that we'll still see a lot of innovation in the next couple of years.
Yeah, maybe it levels the playing field a little bit. Again, I don't want this to be seen as through the designer's eyes, this whole conversation. I really want it to be seen through the B2B company's eyes of what they can achieve and what unlocks for them. And I can only imagine that if a smaller org, I'm not even saying you, I'm saying like a true startup, bootstrap, still a team of 5, needs to come out and do some of these things, kind of these interesting, not static images. They probably just can't, both from a capacity, cost, who do we find? Are we even there yet as a business? But if those things become a lot easier, then it kind of levels the playing field. They can punch above their weight class, probably from a creative standpoint.
Yeah. And what you see, I think this is a bit of what's missing, is you see a lot of these new video models announcements. It's like, I can do an elephant riding a bicycle on a football stadium, but brands don't want that, right? Brands want something in my identity, my on doing something, illustrating something. And, and I think we will eventually move into the model being able to do this, because whenever we see these cinematic announcements, it never really fits what we want to do. It's really cool, but not for a B2B company.
Yeah, it's like, it's creative in the artistic expression, right? But it has to be on brand. Yeah, it has to match the identity, you know. So we were working with the company this year, and we're working through a mascot. So again, to do quick iteration, it's not to have AI make the mascot, but it is to say, here's the frame of the mascot that we're heading towards. I'd like some different orientations of, like, if it turns its head, what might that look like? If it frowns, what might that look like? If it smiles, if it jumps, what might that look like? Only to iterate, right? I did this within a 5-10 minute window just to be like, oh, right, Lakes would do this. No, I actually think AI got that terribly wrong. It probably would do this. Okay, I don't need that one. Oh, I like that brownie expression. That's something I can pull off of. But where it was really failing was the more iterations you do, it gets off brand.
Yeah.
The line weights get really thick and weird. All of a sudden, some of the detail, whether it was meant to be more flat or less flat, is starting to kind of disappear. And it kind of like hallucinates a little bit on the brand front, and you have to bring it back. And then it's funny, like it apologizes, right? Oh, you're right. The stroke weight did get thicker. Okay, I'll fix that. But then, as the models can control that better, then you get even better outcomes.
Exactly. And I think you will see a lot of these models, for example, they give you PNG files, and then it's really hard to edit them, right? And it's not exactly the type of format that you want. I don't think you were far away from having a Figma plugin that does some of these things, right? Variation of an image into a video or into a GIF that you edit. I think those things will come up.
Yeah, and probably come fast. I would say it seems to me like y'all are on the front lines of AI and its adoption, because you're actually doing it and building it yourself too within your product. You're not kind of waiting for it to arrive at the doorstep and go like, oh, this is interesting. You're actually one of the innovators. What do you think is next? Like, where does AI go from here?
I think that the current models that exist, there's still so much that we can do with them that we don't do yet, because we don't know how to put it together well, or that they're not fast enough. Or let me give you a practical example. Like we're all very focused on the next model is going to be much, much smarter, but it might be that a big unlock is speed. Like the current model, the same models that we have today being much faster rather than much smarter. Why? If you think about a lot of B2B examples like Rows or CRMs, in Rows, if you want to format a cell, for example, as a percentage, you could ask the AI, but it's really only productive if the AI can do it in half a second or 1 second or 2 seconds, because otherwise you use the user interface for that. Or if you're CRM and you want to fill a form, the AI can only help you. It's really fast, much faster than you in filling a form. And I think what we're seeing is the models get very smart, but there's still, the latency might be 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And until it's 2 or 3 seconds, there's a lot of potential that's not unlocked, because you cannot migrate people's habits into the AI until the AI is much more productive at the small stuff as well. So we're going to release this soon about how we think about the architecture of AI. And do you know this book, Thinking Fast and Slow?
Yes.
Yes. He introduced this thing of the system 1, system 2 thinking, right? Of the intuitive tasks that are immediate and the slow tasks that we plan. And I think the evolution for the AI products is a bit like that. Like system 1 tasks are almost immediate, like delete this column, move this column, has to happen right away. But then if you ask, create a cash flow model for my company based on this Notion doc, it's fine if it takes 10, 15 minutes. I think
understood.
This balance, it's one of the things that we're bullish on. Having really fast models for very productive, simple things, and then letting it play out and think what it needs to.
Fantastic point. I hadn't considered if it can't do it faster than me clicking into the interface, selecting the row and saying change to, then why would I use AI to do it? But if it can do it at lightning speed,
if you don't establish the habit of using for the simple things, it's going to be much harder for you to get around using it all the time. And if you don't use it all the time, we have less data to train, we have less feedback on what works, and the loop doesn't work as fast. And so you end up not fulfilling the potential.
Very smart, which is why y'all continue to not surprise me on how you're continuing to innovate on AI and how you're thinking about it. I love this idea. I can't help but think about this approach is the start at the simplest point and expand from there. It is a bit of a land and expand strategy on how you're saying, if we can get the user into a habit of using it for this thing, they will go, oh, I can probably continue to do that, even if they're doing that subconsciously. I think that's a really smart way to think about it, instead of maybe the other way, which is trying to backdoor it. We only use it for the deep stuff, and the other stuff is still just simple to click around. Y'all are killing it. I love what you're doing over there. I love celebrating you all. I love that we partnered with you all. Kudos to you.
Yeah, I have to say that maybe we're 4 years into the rebrand. One of the things that people still praise it the most is the brand, how clean the product is, how the brand image and the illustrations are refreshing for a B2B product like a spreadsheet. We get this all the time. Also, we get a lot, how much did the domain cost? Those questions, we also get it a lot. But on the visual identity and the tone of voice, etc., we get a lot of praise. So that's a big kudos to you guys. We wouldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I would throw it back at you, though. Not everybody's brave enough to embrace where y'all landed, right? It does take some faith and some courage to say, oh, we can be different. I mean, even the color palette, I think, would give a lot of people in B2B kind of anxiety of like, what do you mean? This is going to be our color palette. Shouldn't we do something more standard, something more technical? You all really embrace this idea of like, just you need to be able to own an identity, and therefore it has to be unique.
Thank you. Good.
All right. So as we come to a close here, let's now kind of play devil's advocate. What things have not changed in your business, B2B business, as a result of AI, and you believe they will not and should not change? What things should just be the way they are, and AI is not really here to make those more efficient? Not everything needs to be more efficient.
I think at the end of the day, the fundamentals are still the same, right? Your job is to build a product that people need, that people want, that people are willing to pay money for, is to build a brand identity that people associate with you, that they feel comfortable with, that they enjoy using. And that hasn't changed. And I don't think that will change because of AI. I think there's this saying that we overestimate how much things change in a year and underestimate how much they change in 10. I actually don't think this is true. I think we overestimate how much they change in 1 year, and we also overestimate how much they change in 10 years. Because when you look at things like, I always think about the example, when you look at the penetration of e-commerce in the world or in the US, it's kind of 11, 12, 13, 14%. We're 25 years into the internet, and it's still only 13 or 14%. Which means most commerce is still exactly the same. And so I think we're going to see the same thing here. We overestimate how much things change in 5 or 10 years. It will take longer. At the end of the day, customers want to find a product that solves the pain for them. They want to look at it as a brand that they can sometimes add, that they can associate with, doing this job well, that looks professional or looks cheeky, depending on what you're trying to sell. And I don't think that has changed. I think we're going to be more creative. We can do more things, but the really important things, I don't think will change.
You're still building a brand, which is serving a customer, showing up on time and consistently every day and doing right for the customer. AI doesn't make that any different, right? That need is still the same. Well said.
Yeah.
Good finish. Way to pull us back down to reality. I know the world can get into an AI frenzy, and I think there are the right times and places for that. But that was a very good, realistic, kind of humble But the world is still the same. Everybody can take a breath, take a beat, innovate. But let's kind of keep a realistic head on our shoulders. All right, sir. I'm excited to see what's coming out. I know you've got some new benchmark testing that y'all are looking to do, which now I can connect the dots, right? If you're talking about latency and speed, definitely interested. I suspect that you are going to score well on that. And just looking forward to following along on the journey. Like I said, it's been such a pleasure to watch y'all grow and for me, what seems like really lead the pack in a lot of ways.
Thank you. And back at you, it's always a pleasure to follow you and the team. And we're really hope with the path that you guys keep building and helping brands be successful.
We appreciate it. That's our goal, right? Whatever we can do to support people like you, whether we have AI tools to do it or don't have AI tools to do it, right? You can't prompt your way to a brand system. The people that go through that journey understand that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Till we meet again.
Thank you. You too, Bill.